Joe Rogan may have just said something out loud that a lot of powerful people wish he hadn't. What started as a podcast conversation about Diddy's legal nightmare quickly turned into something much bigger and, honestly, way more unsettling. Because according to Rogan, the mess doesn't stop with Diddy. It climbs straight up the power ladder. And what he uncovered suggests this isn't just one man's downfall, but part of a much larger system. In this video, we're breaking down that entire structure, from Diddy all the way to the names sitting comfortably at the very top. You'll see who actually holds the power, why certain figures never seem to face questions no matter what, and why Joe Rogan may have crossed a risky line by even talking about this publicly. Trust me, this one hits different. At first glance, most people assume the story ends with Diddy sitting behind bars, waiting for trial. Case closed, right? Not even close. During a recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, Rogan dropped a realization that caught listeners off guard, and the implications are honestly chilling. According to what was discussed, Diddy's network stretches far beyond what the headlines show. These connections aren't surface level. They reach deep into the core of power in this country. And once you see how the pieces connect, it's hard to unsee it. So again, we're walking through the entire chain, from Diddy to the people above him, and why Rogan might have said the quiet part out loud. Buckle up.
He's going to be in jail for the rest of his life. I think he's probably going to get
Think he's
hit up.
insane, though?
I don't know. I don't even think it matters. I mean, it's a lot of it is.
But then it's just another Epstein.
There's
It's
murder
another
cases.
Ghislaine Maxwell, where
there's
somebody gets
murder
indicted and
cases.
nobody else. Indicted for trafficking kids to
Right,
no
to
one.
to no one. Right. We're like, what is the next crazy thing that's going to explode in the news? Is Bill Clinton's going to have an OnlyFans? Like, what is going to happen? What is the next thing that's going to make us all go, what the f-? Like, what the f*** is going on?
It's coming. You know, it's
How many guys were on video saying, ain't no party like a Diddy party? How many people like openly talked about being there?
LeBron.
Yeah, how about Ashton Kutcher? All these people. Like, you guys all went.
Before we get into who's really pulling the strings, you need the full picture of what Diddy is accused of, because without that, nothing else makes sense. Right now, Diddy is locked up, facing extremely serious federal charges. Prosecutors claim he abused his power and influence to coerce victims into horrifying situations. And then there's the darkest allegation of all, the so-called freak-offs. These were private parties where guests were allegedly drugged and secretly filmed without their consent. Think about that for a second. You believe you're at an exclusive party and everything is being recorded to potentially be used against you later. More than 120 people have reportedly come forward with allegations, and shockingly, 25 of them were minors. Yes, minors. That detail alone changes the entire weight of this case. 50 Cent's Netflix documentary, The Reckoning, pushed the story even further into the spotlight. He didn't hold back, and many people respected him for that. But here's the part most headlines barely touch. Diddy wasn't acting alone, and he absolutely wasn't the one at the top. And that's where Joe Rogan steps in. On his podcast, Rogan started connecting dots that others seemed terrified to acknowledge. He brought up Jeffrey Epstein, and suddenly the similarities were impossible to ignore. The tone of the conversation shifted fast. One guest even asked, "Is he gonna sing?" Meaning, would Diddy expose everyone else involved? That's when Rogan pointed out something deeply uncomfortable, the Epstein pattern. Someone gets charged with trafficking, but no one else ever seems to fall with them. Epstein trafficked minors. To who, exactly? Officially, no one. Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted of trafficking. Again, to no one. Does that make sense? Because it doesn't add up at all. The pattern is obvious. The people at the very top always manage to slip away untouched. Then Rogan started naming names. LeBron James, Ashton Kutcher, other A-list celebrities who've openly talked about attending Diddy's parties over the years. Remember all those "ain't no party like a Diddy party" clips? Rogan's question cut straight through the nostalgia. He asked, "You all went, and you didn't see anything?" And that silence, it speaks volumes. Either people knew what was happening, or they were part of the environment that allowed it. There's really no neutral space there. Now let's talk about the so-called emperor. If Diddy was the king of his world, Sir Lucian Grange is the man operating above it all. Grange is the CEO of Universal Music Group, the parent company tied to nearly every major label Diddy ever worked with. This isn't just influence, this is global control. And here's where things take a serious turn. In the Lil Rod lawsuit, Lucian Grange was directly named. The allegation? Major labels don't just distribute music, they provide the infrastructure that protects powerful figures. According to the lawsuit, these companies function more like shields than businesses, and the documents released, they're explosive.
These words would come out my mouth, but Candace Owens is onto something, and that did not feel comfortable at all. So Candace says the reason mainstream news is not picking up this lawsuit, is not paying attention to Diddy at all, is because of this man right here, Lucian Grange. He is one of the most powerful men in Hollywood and music. And he been up in Diddy's room. So this man right here is Sir Lucian Charles Grange. He's been the CEO of Universal Music Group since 2010, so you know he done seen some shit. So I had to go to the damn documents. I had to see if this man was actually named, and he is. As you can see, it says Lucian Charles Grange, and it also says Universal Music Group. On top of that, it says Ethiopia. I cannot fuck up her last name. I refuse to. But she was also a big person in Universal Music Group. And then Christina Coramham, Lord forgive. But she was like Diddy said.
The lawsuit alleges that Grange didn't just know about the parties, he helped sponsor them. It claims he attended multiple events at Diddy's Los Angeles home, where explicit workers and underage girls were allegedly present. Yes, underage. The filing further states that Grange either knew or should have known people were being drugged, allegedly through laced bottles of De Leon tequila and Ciroc vodka, both brands connected to Diddy. Candace Owens even called this out publicly, questioning why mainstream outlets were barely touching the story. According to her, Lucian Grange is simply too powerful. He has the influence to decide what gets covered and what disappears. The lawsuit also names Ethiopia Habtemariam and Christina Coram from Universal Music Group, alleging they were aware of what was happening. They allegedly saw it, knew about it, and did nothing. Why? Because executives control the money, and when billions are at stake, accountability suddenly becomes optional. That's exactly why you're not seeing wall-to-wall coverage on CNN or Fox News. These power players shape the narrative and limit what the public ever gets to hear. And finally, when Diddy's inner circle comes up, one name is impossible to ignore: Jay-Z. Their bond goes way beyond business. Diddy once said only 2 people on earth can call him by his real name, Sean, his mother and Jay-Z. No one else. That alone tells you how deep this relationship really runs.
One person.
Oh, go on.
And I call him Sean. That's Jay-Z. We call each other Sean.
Okay.
Yeah. Nobody else could call me Sean.
He's the only person who's Sean approved.
There's not a single person that
outside
should be,
of family.
That should be outside of my mother.
Okay,
That
just
should be calling me. Yeah, that should be calling me.
Now, let's talk about Jaguar Wright. If you don't know who she is, she's basically the one person in this industry who says the things everyone else is too scared to say out loud. She sat down with Piers Morgan and made some explosive claims about Jay-Z and Diddy. But here's where it gets weird. That full episode? Gone. Practically wiped off the internet. Buried so fast it's almost impossible to track down now. And that raises the obvious question: if there was nothing to hide, why make it disappear? Just saying. During that interview, Wright asked what a lot of people have wondered for years. How does Jay-Z go on national TV with Gayle King and never get asked about certain industry rumors or connections? She didn't sugarcoat anything. She straight up called both Diddy and Jay-Z monsters and said their influence has been crushing the music business for decades. That's when people started asking another uncomfortable question. Why did Jay-Z's high-profile personal attorney suddenly get involved in Diddy's legal situation? Coincidence or proof of something much bigger happening behind the scenes? Jay-Z has never addressed these rumors publicly, and in today's media climate, silence doesn't feel neutral, it feels intentional. Joe Rogan talks about this kind of thing all the time. Powerful elites don't handle problems themselves. They hire elite fixers, lawyers whose entire job is to make stories vanish. One name that keeps popping up is Alan Grubman. Most people have never heard of him, and that's exactly the point. He's a legendary power attorney representing everyone from Diddy to Bruce Springsteen. These people connect the entire industry behind closed doors. They're the real gatekeepers. They write the NDAs that keep people quiet for 20, 30 years. They control information, and in this world, information is everything. If they decide your story never sees daylight, it simply doesn't. Whenever Rogan has former CIA officer Mike Baker on his show, they always circle back to the same comparison: Diddy's freak-offs and Jeffrey Epstein's island operation. The theory isn't that Diddy was some lone evil mastermind. The theory is that he was a facilitator, someone placed in position to do a very specific job. Think about it. If federal indictments are right and Diddy was recording these parties, then who was that footage really for? Who wanted it? The people above him, the unnamed John Does hiding in the background, politicians, CEOs, global elites using those parties as their private playgrounds.
Between Diddy and Epstein, it's good. There's probably several thousand hours of footage here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I should say, I think you voted for Biden.
I'd like to see a matchup of those, call it the top 100 puppet masters on the Epstein client list.
Do you think there's some overlap?
Strong overlap. Strong overlap.
When are we going to see that list, do you think?
I don't know.
Will that ever come out, do you think?
You know, I think part of why Kamala is getting so much support is that if Trump wins, that Epstein client list is going to become public.
Yes.
And some of those billionaires behind Kamala are terrified of that outcome.
Yeah. Do you think Reid Hoffman's uncomfortable?
Yes. And Gates.
And Gates.
Yeah.
And I only ask that because you can sort of, you just look at them and you're like, that's a nervous person right there. I don't know. I mean, I assume you know them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And according to multiple claims, there aren't just a few recordings. There could be thousands of hours of footage, not just from Diddy's parties, but possibly tied to Epstein's tapes as well. If that's true, we're talking about a massive blackmail operation stretching back decades. Elon Musk even hinted at this on Joe Rogan's podcast. He suggested that part of the reason certain political figures receive overwhelming billionaire support is fear. Fear that if the wrong person gains power, certain lists start coming out. The Epstein client list, the Diddy party list. Names like Reid Hoffman and Bill Gates were mentioned as people who might not be comfortable with full transparency. And when Rogan asked Elon if Reid Hoffman seemed nervous, Elon answered with just one word: yes.
Have these guys, like a Jeffrey Epstein type guy, who works with the elite of the elite clientele. It's all movie stars, big-time politicians, world leaders, scientists, Nobel Prize winners, and they all meet together and have fascinating conversations and cocktails, and there's beautiful girls everywhere. Of course. What a great idea.
Right.
And if you're naive and you don't understand honeypots.
Here's the quote from Maria Farmer, who was one of the accusers from what was inside the house in New York.
Okay, she said, there were monitors inside this cabinet. I looked on the cameras and I saw toilet, bed, toilet. She said, visibly spooked. Like, I'm never going to use the restroom here and I'm never going to sleep here. You know what I mean? It was very obvious that they were like monitoring private moments. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Maria Farmer was the one who worked at Epstein's office in New York, I think.
And this was the house, Jamie?
Yeah, I was looking up stuff on the house. That was like what they
I
found.
wonder if the
in
house still
too.
has fucking cameras in it somewhere that they haven't found yet.
They definitely, don't know.
Yeah, you'd have to scan the shit out of that house. You'd have to take the walls apart. There's probably listening devices inside the walls. Like, who knows? If this was like really an intelligence operation, yeah, they probably had that house fully watched.
This is what people call the facilitator model. Figures like Epstein and Diddy created protected environments, places where celebrities and politicians who couldn't party publicly could do whatever they wanted. But here's the twist. These weren't just parties. They were honeypots, controlled spaces where powerful people could be watched, recorded, and leveraged later. Joe Rogan summed it up perfectly. Either this was some form of intelligence-style operation, or one unbelievably dark genius figured out how to compromise everyone. Phones taken away, promises of secrecy, cameras everywhere. Then Rogan asked the real question: Was Diddy working for someone above him, or did he just go too far and lose control? Elon Musk also brought up Jennifer Lopez during his conversation with Rogan, not politically, but morally. His point was simple and brutal. If someone was that close to Diddy for years, where were the warnings? J-Lo dated him. She was at the events, the parties, all of it. So the uncomfortable question is this: how many people did she warn about Diddy? The answer appears to be none, and that opened a door nobody wanted to walk through. If people in the inner circle said nothing, what does that mean? Either they truly had no idea, which many find hard to believe, or they knew something and stayed quiet. If they stayed quiet, was it fear, loyalty, self-protection, or protecting someone even higher up? During federal raids on Diddy's homes, agents reportedly seized thousands of hours of video. Not dozens, thousands. Commentators like Jaguar Wright and Gene Deal have explained how this system worked. The footage wasn't just blackmail, it was insurance, a silent way to keep people in line without ever making a threat. And now, rumors say those tapes are being quietly moved, and that has some very powerful names panicking. Megyn Kelly raised an important point. Diddy isn't even being charged for the assault caught on camera, the hotel hallway footage involving Cassie that everyone has seen. So if prosecutors aren't pursuing something that blatant, what does that say about what is being protected? The real questions are, who has the tapes now, what's actually on them, and what happens if thousands of celebrities suddenly get exposed on video doing things they never wanted public? Maybe the most disturbing part isn't what we already know, it's what's still being hidden. Then there's this. In 50 Cent's documentary, viewers noticed something very specific. During discussions about Diddy's parties, images of Bishop T.D. Jakes appear. A lot of people online believe that wasn't accidental. They think it was a message, subtle but deliberate. When Bishop Jakes was finally asked about the allegations, his response only fueled the fire. He didn't say, "No, I was never involved." He said, "Keep it moving," then added that even if something like that were true, repentance could cover sins, before saying he didn't need to repent for this. To many viewers, that didn't sound like confidence, it sounded like deflection. Jaguar Wright reacted immediately, saying if Bishop Jakes was around those circles, it was for one of two reasons: money or access. She described these gatherings as leverage zones, places where power is created and later used. Gene Deal echoed that concern, questioning why a respected religious leader would even be near parties insiders describe as anything but clean. He also hinted he's heard whispers about tapes that may eventually surface. And if that happens, he says, the conversation won't be about rumors anymore. It'll be about proof. Some researchers now map this entire situation like a pyramid. At the bottom, names like Jay-Z and Beyoncé, powerful, yes, but still answering to forces above them. In the middle, the gatekeepers, Oprah, Clive Davis, major executives who control access to fame and money. And at the very top, one hidden name that allegedly ties it all together. This influence doesn't just stop in music or Hollywood. It reaches into politics, tech, and even religion. Dave Chappelle warned about this years ago. He described the entertainment industry as a trap, not just bad contracts, but a system built on control. When people asked why he didn't just switch networks, his answer was chilling. He said it would be like running from one plantation to another. Different master, same chains. If someone as successful as Dave Chappelle felt boxed in, what does that say about everyone else? So after all of this, Diddy's alleged blackmail network, Universal Music Group's power, the Jay-Z connections, the Epstein parallels, the role of religious and corporate figures, what do you think is really going on? Is this all coincidence, or are we finally seeing cracks in something much bigger than any one person? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to know what you think. Thanks for watching. Stay curious, stay questioning, and I'll see you in the next one.